Welcome, welcome on the Sunday afternoon on May 7th, 2017. I'd like to welcome Alec Apple B.
Thank you.
That's my guest. Welcome to come today. I would like to I'm glad you came. I would like to know about who you are and what about. I have seen you around in the community, advocate and support different community, and I see that you're. I want to know anything or whatever you need. I have it. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Doug. Definitely excited to be on here today and here representing the Libertarian Party of San Joaquin County. A lot of good things happening in the Libertarian Party in California. We just came out of a convention this last weekend, and just really exciting stuff. We've got a new board on our state party. Some of the old members are still there, but we've got a few new members that are really active, really exciting. A new northern vice chair that affects this area. So the person that's overlooking us is new and really excited, really active in the community, and it's good to have that support there.
So you have it's San Joaquin Libertarian Party in Central Valley?
No, it's the official name is the Libertarian Party of San Joaquin County. Yeah, so it'd be like LPSJC. We just abbreviate it out.
Okay,
Right?
LPP, okay.
Yeah, and we are under the state umbrella, right? You know, just like the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, every political party has a hierarchy of people, right? And so the state level and then the county level is kind of what I'm mostly involved
So
with.
you're involved in the county level, right?
Yeah, I'm involved in the county and the state level. I'm on the state board, and then I'm in charge of the county, which is small, just up and coming, but we've got some really excited people that have been getting involved and plugged in. And we've got
Okay, so tell me
good
about
things.
yourself before we go to the
Sure.
Libertarian part, okay?
Sure, yeah. So I'm an entrepreneur. I've been in business for over 12 years. In total businesses, it's been 20-something years that I've been in business. But 12 years in my current business. I like to consider myself an anti-political activist. And
Why is that?
the reason I'd
Can
say
you
that...
explain what that means?
Yeah. And it's really... Obviously, I'm involved in politics. You could probably even call me a politician. Oh, I think my mouth tastes bad after saying that.
Yeah.
But the thing that got me involved into politics was I was just so frustrated with the lack of concern for people and the judgmentalness and the division. It was just really frustrating to me. And so I got involved in politics because I hate politics. And I figure like I can either complain about it or do something about it. So I'm going to try to do something, and we'll see how much I can do in my short time on this planet. But I'll do what I can, you know? And let's see. Public speaker. I'm a millennial. I'd like to say I'm proudly a millennial.
How do you spell
Generation
millennial?
Y. MILLINNIAL.
Oh, okay. I'm
Yep.
millennial. Okay, got it.
Yep.
So that's a new generation.
Yeah, Generation Y, typically, which is anybody born from about 1980 to 1999 or so.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me see. I know that also you're a disabled
Veteran, yes. I was in the
And
Army
how-
for 7 years, 10
Oh,
days,
really?
4 hours, and 13 minutes.
So what military what war did you be in, or it's a peace war?
It was in war, yeah, in Iraq. I
Yeah.
was in Kosovo before the Iraq War kicked off, and then I was in Iraq in 2003. From Kuwait, we kind of went up in the beginning, behind the first push there, and then we occupied for a while. I changed jobs in the military and went on to space operations and went back to Qatar. It's QATAR, Qatar.
It's like a Qatar or
No, it's a country.
okay, the country.
Yeah,
okay.
next to
It sounds
Saudi-
like you said Qatar, but okay,
next
got it.
next to Saudi Arabia.
Next to the.
And I went there a couple more times before I got out. So I deployed 5 times.
So how many years you were in a veteran for, like 10 years?
Seven
7
years.
years.
Mhm.
Wow, that's a
Deployed.
long, active 30. You should be in a lion club. We here to serve. You
Yeah,
know.
totally.
Right.
yeah.
Okay, and that's wonderful. That's an impeccable record.
Yeah,
What
thanks.
about as far as did you? I know a lot of veterans who are that come Which I mean, let me step back again. Let me focus. Okay, as far as when they go out of high school
Hmm.
and they join the service, they're perfect person that go in and there's nothing wrong. They had no F or whatever, and they go there and they come back disabled mentally, emotionally, physically, whatever. And yet, this country don't have no sympathy about where to honor them. I know for my dad, he in World War II veteran, and he was always taught teaching me to be patriotic.
Yeah.
Patriotic. So I was like, well, yeah, I wish I would have joined in with like my dad, but he was in the Navy. He was like a cargo, giving food to each veteran in each country. So he was always in the state international ocean, and then they come back to a different war in World War II. So I was like
Wow.
really, really here, like listening people's comeback story. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it very intrigued me to see that what you had to go through and see that none of the people never suspect, but yet we have our own war in the United States. What is it? A police officer look like a soldier in the USA go to another country and fighting for us, and yet we're here fighting against ourselves, each other.
Right.
You know, so it's always
Right. The
a
war on
paradox.
drugs, the war on gangs, they're both a complete
Yeah,
failure.
right. Yeah, total war,
Absolutely.
gang, and we're on drugs and things. And politics are more like noted. You see it everywhere.
Mhm. Well, yeah, politics kind of looks at all the situations.
Yeah, and
I
yeah,
guess,
and they're kind of blindfolded, and not seeing what the regulation requires them to take, what to put out, and what to take, what
Well,
take advantage of it.
You know the definition of politics, right?
Definition of I'm sure I know,
The study
but
of
other people
power.
probably won't know. Would you explain that for me?
It's just the study of power, because like the politics, you know, obviously it's a study. Well, it's a study of power.
Oh, the study of power.
Yeah. So politics is just power. It's a matter of who has the power. You know, the government has a monopoly on force.
Wow. So okay, I'll use that analogy, and maybe maybe it's yes or no. It's like when you go to a high school and there are two captains,
Sure.
whatever, one of the Republican, one of the Democrat, and they pick people from in their team until they hit the last two, which they don't want.
Right.
So now the first two people who think that they're not good enough, they might have some kind of talent or gifted need that that we could use that to relate to other people and people in power. You know what I mean? They take advantage of that, but at the same time they okay, I'll get that one, and
Sure.
not recognize them at all. Right?
But I think here's the problem with politics: is in your analogy, right?
Now, okay.
You've got the two coaches or the two people picking teams.
Uh-huh.
Well, they're not picking the best player usually. They're picking their best friend. So it's about who you know, not who's the most qualified. And a lot of times,
Right.
I think that's the problem.
That's true. I could identify that really good, because when it comes to politics, people know each other, and yet who their best friend. I thought I was your best friend. I thought you're my best friend, and I'm your best friend. Wait a minute, and they're like they're fighting over each other whose best friend they are, so they
Right.
could get that position.
Totally.
So I could see that the analogy about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, but I guess I mean it's kind of who I am, and I'm a student also, being a veteran. So I've been
UOP, right?
UOP. Yep.
Whoa,
so I'll be
good.
graduating in another year. It's not taking a full load, but
How do you feel like UOP become another David City? Because they want to change UOP to like a campus community instead of the Stockton community. I have seen it. They're more like wanted a free education and free tuition for Stockton and maybe closer. But yet,
well, nothing's free. So it would be a matter of
right,
where does that
that's-
come from, you know?
where the money come from? Yeah, but when I'm saying that, have you noticed that there's a lot of hype about education, that the Stockton wants to bring students in Stockton, but yet in the same time, we have Davis Community Campus, that their city of college, university
didn't realize.
lifestyle,
Oh, yeah.
and here they're trying to change almost the same ideal. So, what are is that your impression?
Not really. I mean, I think they definitely focus on the culture and the uniqueness of UOP, and that's good. I think every school ought to do that, is be proud of who they are and what they're doing. I think there's a couple things that should change on the campus. They're hindering the First Amendment a little bit on there. They have some rules that prevent free speech. Although they don't really enforce them much. They've been open about letting people speak freely, from what I've seen, 90% of the time. So, but other than that, like I don't know. And you could probably, you might know of some stuff that I just don't know that's happening.
Well, I'm a very observant person, so I'm very observant what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need the people to tell me what it is. Ouch. But as far as observing it, is I lost my train of thought with that slap.
Oh, yeah,
you know,
so
walk my head.
My thing wasn't working. I was like tapping on it. So.
Anyway, oh God, I'll come back to me.
So yeah, UOP. We were talking about UOP.
Okay, yeah, with UOP, but the thing is that, far as there are different kind of vocational school,
Mm-hmm.
the university school. You know, I went to a lot of people from high school. Like, there's a lot of millennium who kind of, like a lot of politicians are recruiting younger people are 18 to include them and get them influenced. Oh, vote for me, vote for me, vote for me. So I have noticed that to identify a lot of millennium. I know a few of them, like, I think they want to rate down to the age of 17 now to vote. That's like in the senior.
Yeah, because they'll be voting. They'll be voting in 2018.
But they're very impressive. But they will hear whatever, because it's hilarious about a politician. It could be a congressman or a senator. It could be mayor. It could be a trustee, and they're easily influenced because they're closer to them. And the parent job is not to let them know that what have a lawyer and a politician have in common. That they lie. That's it. They lie. So they'll tell you the word they want to hear, but yet we're all right. You're all right, but yet you're in trouble. They will got you. Same thing with the hate about the law. That I feel kind of bad. Last week, 2 days ago, I was really depressed on the Kingu Medi-Cal. No, they stopped the continuing. What is that word I'm looking for? Continuing medication when people are ill and they're continuing illness.
Illness,
that you have to take the pill, or take your diabetic, or there's no insurance, they're not going to be covered that, and it really shows that people that are disability, not people that are in politics, they're like in their 60, and they go to their doctor and they take their high blood pressure pill, they take their medication, and they have their own insurance plan in the government. The level the higher you get. Okay, good. Okay, Apple. What were we just talking about before?
Yeah, so we were talking about education and kind of what some ideas on education are there, and totally you mentioned trade schools and stuff like that, right? Yes. So absolutely, I think trade schools are great. I think that education is so imperative, and learning is imperative, and that's something that we need to be doing our whole lives. Most people stop after high school or even college, then they stop learning. And I think it's imperative that we continue learning. And it's getting easier and easier with the internet and with things like YouTube that we're on right here, is the fact that you can go learn anything. You could take little classes or certification things, and they're able to be affordable and easy to fit in your schedule. You can do it at home. So, whatever type of learning you're doing, whether it's reading a book or taking a college class, I think it's important. How we're going to pay for all that learning, I think, is what the question is. And so do we as a whole, do we as a country want to pay for education? Well, we currently do. We pay for education up until 12th grade. So is that where we want to stop it? Do we want to stop it after college? So I think that's the debate.
What about special education? Special education is important, or is that part of the debate?
I think that you got to really cater to the child, to the individual, and it's so important. Especially when you're looking inside special education and disabled children. I grew up with a lot of disabled kids around me. My grandparents took care of over 101 disabled foster children, and not all at one time, but throughout the years. They usually had 5 or 6 at a time, though.
Okay.
And so when I was growing up, I'd be playing with them or be taking care of them as I got a teenager and whatnot. I'd kind of babysit. But everybody's so different, you know, and they look different, they act different, and two might look exactly the same and have two completely different disabilities, and they need different care so specifically. And so I think whenever you take that up to a federal level, it's so far away from the person that you can't control that from the federal level. It's got to be controlled locally. And so any type of protections, I think, should be on the city level or on the local community level, maybe on the state level, but that's kind of pushing it, you know.
Okay, so what else the next one on your topic?
Yeah, so we were going to talk about the support for the LGBT community with the Libertarian Party.
Yes.
So yeah, actually, absolutely. We've been supporters of really we strive for individual rights. We want to protect the smallest minority, which is the individual, right? And so that comes down to, I heard somebody say this recently, that's like basically you want to be like Republicans when it comes to taxes, or be real conservative when it comes to tax. Not really like Republicans lately anyway, because they're not very conservative anymore. But you want to be conservative when it comes to taxes, and I've said taxation is theft, right? And people get controversial about that, and if you want it to be voluntary, that's fine. You can pay taxes, and if you think that's the way to do it, I'm okay with people voluntarily paying. The problem I have is the force that's laid in there. And the spending that happens. Like we right now take about $50,000 in tax dollars to get like $10,000 in benefits to the end user. And I mean,
how you feel that math from 50,000 to 10,000 benefit?
I'd have to look at the studies, and get like the specifics, but it was a statistic, and like 57% of statistics are made up anyway, so I'm not sure the accuracy. But it's you could see it in the bureaucracy and the waste in the government. And just being in the Army, I saw how much money we spent. And it's like the end of the year is coming, and you have money left to spend on your budget, and you're like, well, we better spend the whole budget, otherwise we get less next year. And it's like, well, that's not the economically sound thing to do, is to spend every dollar you have at the end of the month, right? If you have leftover in your checking account, it's probably a good idea to stick that thing in savings, right?
Yeah, well, that's a good point about that. If you already save money in your saving account and you're going to add another budget, it should be increasing, not spending all at once.
Yeah, we're just spending more and more money, and we don't have the money to spend. So I don't know. It's just
that's an eye-opening from everyone here that are watching, getting educated now. Okay.
But there's definitely a lot of LGBT community inside the Libertarian Party. Since the beginning, we've been advocates for legalizing drugs, or at least decriminalizing drugs, all drugs, and then also for people that are being discriminated against in any way, whether that's LGBT, if that's based on race, if that's based on disability. None of that should be happening. But it's got to be controlled at a local level, not at a federal level.
Okay, great.
Yeah, it's like having stormtroopers try to take care of you. They can't. The stormtroopers don't care, but the local sheriff, the local community, like they should care, right? The local community, the city council and whatnot. Those are the people that are supposed to be really caring and looking out for the best interest of this local citizens.
What do you mean by services? Like, you mean people who are serving on the board?
Yeah. Okay. I think the people serving, like I consider it serving. Other people might consider it a career or a job, but I don't think it should be a career. I
think most people have a career in politics.
Yeah, I'd never want a career in politics.
I have seen people that already have a career in politics. Yeah. They're going to be staying there. They're already set up already.
Right, so, and I mean, that's fine. I think you do whatever you want. I just personally don't really care too much for career politicians. I think that the longer they're there, the worse it kind of gets, and I would just like to see more turnover.
To us. I think they're kind of immune to it. When the more they up there, they have the ego is up there. They don't really have no compassion when it comes to people. When they kind of ask, "Excuse me, I would like to." Would you help me out? Oh, go talk to my legislative assistant. They'll take it and we'll make an appointment to see you. We'll talk to you later, okay? And that's it.
I mean, have you ever had a time in your life where you were, just completely humbled, like, oh my gosh, I did not realize I was being so ignorant, or I was being so like bad in this area? Like, have you ever had that happen?
Yes,
right? Those like, oh my gosh, right? We all have, and So I think it's just a matter of coming to that conclusion and working together and understanding that we all want the same thing. Democrats, Republicans, libertarians, anti-politicalists. Yeah, if there's a word for that. We all want the same thing. We want the betterment of humanity. We want to be able to do our own thing in peace and safety. We want to know that our kids aren't going to be torn off the street on their way home. Or we all want the same thing. We want to have a better world, right? The argument is how do we do it? And we just can't come to agreement on how to get there.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And then I think you wanted to talk a little about civil rights and the ADA and stuff. What time are we done here? Are we done about 4? Or?
I don't know. What about 4? Yes.
Okay. So civil rights and the ADA. So we kind of were going into that, and that's I would say the Libertarian Party officially would be against the ADA, and that's the American Disabilities Act. And the reason we're against the act is because the act in itself discriminates, and the act in itself, I believe, unjustly uses that monopoly of force that the government has, and they use it basically to force either businesses to comply under certain things. My mom, I'll give you my example. My mom had a stroke a year ago, or 2 years ago maybe. So she's in a wheelchair 70% of the time. And they put a ramp in the back door of her house, and it's too steep. Like, it works. My brother pushes her up it, and it's fine. But the city could come in and say, no, you have to spend money and make this a certain angle because we think it needs to be this degree. Even though it's your house, your property, and it's your son that's pushing you up the ramp, we're going to make you spend your money to do things our way because we said so. What? Right? How many people get mad when their parents tell them because we said so? And it's like, that's all the government does.
But it's your property.
It's your property, yeah.
But what does it have to do with the public property? It's two different scenarios.
And they're both apply under there. And then so the public property, let's say if there's a business and they're not willing to make the adjustments so you can come into that business, do you really want to go to that business? Do you want to do business there?
No.
How long will they stay in business? Especially as people become more conscious of stuff like that, right? And there's these anti-bullying campaigns. The more that we see anti-bullying campaigns, the less that people bullying, I guess, are getting business. I think, the business. And so if the business isn't serving the people, they're not going to get more business. The people will stop coming, and so then they would go out of business. And we shouldn't bail them out. We should let them go out of business because they did a bad job, right? And so and the other hand is, what about the like on the mountaintop? I used to go to Pikes Peak in Colorado. There was this train you could take up to Pikes Peak, and
Colorado.
Okay. And so at the peak, I don't remember ever seeing people like with wheelchairs or that were physically handicapped getting around up there. At the very, very top, you had to hike a little bit, right? But there was a bathroom up there. Well, the bathroom had to be wheelchair compliant, even though a wheelchair can't get there. Right? What sense does it make to spend?
Probably that day there was no wheelchair, but I'm sure someone did make it onto the top. So it's like, can you hear a tree fall from another country?
And so, but maybe a couple people, a very small percentage of people would go, right?
A very small percentage, yes.
And so, like the general utility isn't worth the expense, and I don't mean that any disrespect towards the few people that would go up there in a wheelchair, but there used to not be a bathroom there. They could it's outside, I don't think that it's worth it for in that instance, and that's one example. There's probably plenty of other examples where you can have a business that it's not going to be a benefit to the business and the consumer overall to do something. Or what if the renovations cost so much money that the business just has to shut down? And it's like, well, they could be in business and they could help people, but they can't remodel the bathrooms, so they have to close their doors, And so I think that's where it hurts people. And as far as the people that are disabled, where it hurts them is, I think it adds discrimination, because now they're having to disclose things about themselves that should be confidential or not a concern of the employer. And so, the employer's like, man, if I got to do this, and this because they have, this disability, then it's just going to be too much hassle to hire them. And the risk of getting sued and something happening because they discriminated, is higher. And so they lean away from hiring people that have disabilities because the increased risk to the business. And so I'm an advocate for people with disabilities, but I think the ADA as a whole doesn't help them.
Well, I think, okay.
And there are things that do, and we can pinpoint those out.
But in general, what I'm trying to get back into that even the Republican Party already lessened the ADA already with the Republican. It kind of shipped down to just the basic ADA from George Bush administration.
Okay.
So it escalated, and then boom, it went back and kind of reset the button of the ADA compliant. But yet there's a limited restriction now. So it used to be an unlimited restriction. Now it's a limited restriction.
I would support
ADA.
that.
That's the Republican. As a Republican, a libertarian almost act like a Republican, right? Sound like it.
In that aspect. In that aspect. And because that's looking at the economic side of it, we would agree with the Republicans.
And what do the Democrats look at with it?
I think the Democrats just think that the government is going to be the answer. So having more programs are the answer, and increased spending, and let's make another committee for that. And it's just not efficient to do it that way. Anything the government's done, increase cost,
Okay.
Yeah, and so where we think that the Republicans go wrong, though, is that they're wanting to, almost ban things, like you banning gay marriage or banning, so the Republicans are almost, if they don't agree with something, then you can't do it either, and that's almost the problem that I think libertarians have with that side. Is it's like, well, no, like when it comes to social issues, personal, civil personal issues, we take a left at the first junction, you know what I mean? And we say, hey, no, it's about people, it's about freedom and these individuals being able to make their own choices, which comes with the responsibility of those choices.
Okay.
Right, and that might be where the Democratic Party is weak, I think, is holding people for the responsibilities of their choices, right? And, so we all have our...
Good. Okay, let's go to the next one.
Yeah, and then let's see, we were going to talk about... Oops, my phone locked. Guns. It's kind of obviously the Libertarian Party is supporters of guns, and really we're supporters of having the freedom to have a gun or not have a gun, and that's just given to us in the Second Amendment. I think the being constitutionalist is probably where we fall. Being a veteran, I think that there's a lot of veterans that are libertarian, and there's a lot of veterans that are Democrat and Republican that lean libertarian. And I think that's because most veterans are constitutionalists. We obviously believe in the Constitution. That's why we served in a voluntary force, in a voluntary military. And speaking of military spending, man, this blows me away. This is a cool little tax thing I got from the Young Americans for Liberty organization. And it tells you how your tax dollar gets broken up. It's kind of neat. And 25.4 cents on the dollar of taxes goes towards military spending. So a quarter of our budget goes towards the military. That's a lot. Should it be that much? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know the line by line, but I see this, and it says the Pentagon spent $500 million training 6 Syrian rebels to fight ISIS. $500 million to train 6. Man,
yeah. Rebel.
Yeah. So the Syrian rebels, I guess, are the ones that were on the side of, right?
They funded the other country,
right?
Yeah,
$500 million to train 6 of them. Isn't that crazy? Right?
Ooh, wow.
It's crazy. So we spend, and then here's something else, and some people think it's cool. I do think it's cool, but I don't think the government should be doing it. And here it is. The government spent $80 million building an Iron Man suit.
Iron Man suit, like
Yeah.
a movie Iron
Yeah,
Man.
yeah. I haven't seen it working, so it's
I
either
don't-
it's either
do
like
they fly
stealth.
or they just-
I haven't seen it.
Oh, my
right?
God.
You would think if it works, they'd be showing it off, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
So apparently, apparently it's not working yet.
The millennium would be wanting a iron suit to fly.
Right.
Oh my God.
Well, let them
cool.
let them
In
join the
game,
military.
you
I
know?
guess they'll be able to do that here in the future. But and it's cool. And I think like if that capability is there, that's something that the Elon Musks of the world can do. Like let the philanthropists spend their money, right? People that have a lot of money blow their money, right? They look for things to put money to. And so if we tax them less, they'd give more because they'd have more to give. And I think people, some people disagree. They think that we're selfish and evil. And I mean, some people are, but I don't think as a whole. I think we're good.
Good.
Right.
Okay. That's very interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of taxes and military spending. I think is crazy there. I think our military spending, the last I heard, was we spend more than the next 37 countries combined in spending for defense, and 36 of those 37 countries are allies of ours. So like, what are we doing? Why do we need to spend so much? And so I think it's good to have defense, and we should be able to protect ourselves. But we got the biggest, baddest military out there. We don't need to put more money there. Let's
I do
work on
believe
some other
U.S.
things.
I always been taught that the U.S. that America was a military country anyway, because we used to be an industrial nation. Now we don't have any no metal factory. We don't have no wheat growing. Everything is imported by another country. But when we get food from them, it's not banned. But when we go travel to Italy, American food are banned from their country. So what the hypocrite about that?
I'm not real familiar with that.
Yeah,
I didn't have any
because
issues
even my
when I was
friend
overseas.
went to Italy, and some of the product that in the United States that import are pretty much banned. It could be tea, it could be milk, it could be anything.
Yeah, we do a lot of that too.
So,
The
but
tariffs
that's a
and
hypocrisy that same thing when the country bail, they cannot pay us back, we forgive them a loan. But when they expect the U.S. America to pay them, they want it. They don't forgive us. They keep, hey, you still owe me money. Why did the $1 trillion spending, and yet other countries we forgive you, and yet when they don't forgive our debt, we have to say, you know what, we're going to put it to zero, bankrupt. That's that.
yeah, I mean, I think something like that will happen eventually. We're not going to pay off the whole debt, is what I think is going to happen. It's $20 trillion right now. I mean, I don't know if it's even possible to sign that kind of number.
There's no banking to cover that.
Right? Yeah. No, it's just so much money. It's the interest right now. It's increasing. The debt is increasing by $1 million a minute. Like every minute's $1 million more. So, what it's doing, it's not going to sustain. Let me tell you a story I heard that really it relates to debt. So in the late 1800s, they had a convention of the states in New York City because there was this crisis in New York City. Late 1800s, so this is before cars, right? They have the horse and buggies is kind of the prominent vehicle to get around in. And New York City was growing so fast that they had a crisis there. And so they had to get together people from all over the country. They came and convened for what was supposed to be a 10-day meeting to find an answer to this problem. After 3 days, the most brilliant minds in the country said there's no answer, there's not even a chance of coming to an answer. So after 3 days, we give up, which is it's inevitable. We'll just have to face this problem. And here's the problem: they were going to have by 1920, they expected the manure from horses to be 3 stories high. And they said the manure problem is crazy. We're going to have manure stories and stories high. And so the moral of the story is they didn't come to a solution, but the free market or the world basically came to a solution. It didn't happen, right? So things that are unsustainable don't sustain. And so the debt is at some point something will happen, and it'll be like you said, bankruptcy, or we'll do something. But and it's 13 cents out of our tax dollar right now goes towards debt. I mean that's 13 cents that could be going towards homeless, or going towards schools, or going towards anything else, or going back in our pockets would be the best place. But that's crazy.
Okay, now as far as that concerned, we got about 5 minutes.
Perfect.
I know that is there any candidate in your party in California that you know that are running?
Yeah, there's several. Here locally, I haven't decided if I'm going to run in 2018 or not. I'm definitely running in 2020, but 2018 is still up in the air. Which office and if I'm running. There is a couple people we're talking to locally that we're hoping to run for office, a governor candidate, as well as a, I think it was school board she was looking at, candidate. So that'd be great. And we do have the Libertarian Party in California has 3 candidates for governor so far.
Well, really? Wow.
Yep. So we have 3 people. One of them is, what was it, Zoltan Istvan? You were asking about him. So he's an interesting guy.
I read his article. It's
Yeah.
really interesting. He made it in USS Magazine.
Mhm.
And he's a businessman as well as an entrepreneur. Pretty sharp person about
Really-
that. Really
really
cool,
smart,
you
yeah.
know. But he got at least, I think he had like 5% chance of making it.
Mhm.
But that's almost 5 million to what? I'm talking about the odd.
Yeah,
as far as
yeah.
that. But yeah, the chance may because look, I think people are already fed up with what's happening right now. You know, I think
Yeah.
right now, the way I look at it, it's a depression right now. It is a depression.
It's a political
Everybody-
depression, that's for sure.
It's a political. People are mad.
Yeah.
People are upset. They're depressed
Yes.
because in Medi-Cal are awful. Our money is spent, even the educational part to parents. So we're in the depression already. You know, people are
Right.
upset about it. You know, anger, rage. So,
Yeah, economically not so much, but politically absolutely.
yeah. So well, great. Let's go to the question. We got 3 more minutes. We go
Yeah, yeah.
over,
So,
okay?
so kind of this is a neat little quiz here. So it's the world's smallest political quiz, and I thought this would be something cool to cover. And basically, the more that you agree with these points, the more libertarian you are, whether it be on the personal side or the economic side. And so you could just Google world's smallest political quiz, and it would come up. It's 10 questions, really easy. And so it just says, like, the first one is the government should not censor speech, press, media, or internet. So if you agree with that, you're probably agreeing with libertarians. Military service should be voluntary. There should be no draft. And I understand there hasn't been a draft since Vietnam, but there's still the ability to have one, and just even having the selective service, libertarians disagree with on that one. There should be no laws regarding sex between consenting adults. What people do in their bedroom between each other is nobody's business, right? And how many of them are in that bedroom? That's none of their business. Repeal laws prohibiting adult possession and use of drugs. We can see so many examples like Venezuela, it was Peru, I think, Portugal that had decriminalized all drugs, and they have like places where you can go for needle exchange and stuff like that available, and their deaths from overdosing has decreased, their drug use has decreased. I mean, it's been phenomenal. So I saw an article that said the way they won the drug war was by giving up on the drug war, and that's how they won it.
Okay.
Right. And so, I mean, those are some of the things. And then on the economic side, we would say ending corporate welfare. Right. And this is like, I say that we're the Democratic
What
Party
does
and
that
us.
mean? Corporate
Corporate welfare is the government giving money to corporations, picking winners and losers, saying, okay, well, you're going to get the money so you can get it, but you're not. And it's just basically that's when you hear crony capitalism. The word crony capitalism is corporate welfare. It's having
Trump capitalism right here. With all that way.
is that yeah?
That's fine for Trump.
Crony
Okay,
for Trump.
capitalism.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, and yeah. So crony capitalism, it's doing it for your buddies basically, and not doing it for the best of the people. And so the government shouldn't be involved in business. That should be up to the people. The government's job is to protect us, right? Is
Okay.
to keep us from getting blown up by other people or something,
Well,
Right.
other people. Right. Okay.
right? Or robbed by our neighbor or whatever.
Do we have any more time? Okay.
Okay.
Well, now, okay. Well, thanks for Alec Appleby. I'm from the Libertarian Party.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
coming.
Yeah, I
I
hope
really
that was
appreciate
helpful.
this Sunday. I hope people learn what you stand for, and hope people will. How do they contact you before?
Yeah, totally. So you can go to voteforalexappleby.com is my website where I had my campaign, and I've got my own political stuff there. You can go to lp.org for the national stuff, or you can go to lpc.org for California and find anything California related. We're on Facebook. You can find us under Libertarian Party of San Joaquin County. And
all right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Have a great Sunday. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.